Welcome, Inquisitive Souls. I'm your host, Cyan, and you're listening to the Age of Alchemy podcast. Episode 4 is called The Symphony. Music gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Said by Plato. There's a sound. It swirls around us, travels through our ears, changes our brain chemistry, pulsing into our nervous system, causing us to dance, laugh, sing, and sometimes cry. What is this sound? This wave of different frequencies and harmonization creating something called music. The very essence of music and our innate ability to play it is an anomaly. Its infinite ways of being expressed is like surfing on an intangible, phenomenological wave that takes us to another place. A state of mind and being that promotes imagination and emotion to release itself in ways that are incomprehensible. A transcendence happens. An escape, a relatability, a tightly sealed bag of sweetness and chaos shaken and swirling like a cosmic sparkling snow globe. A hidden portal of play and invisible momentum. A pathway connecting us to others in a way that can only be done with a combination of melodies through means of instruments, vocal cords, and sometimes poetry. Music can turn pain into laughter and solitude into excitement. It can make you feel less alone and ignite motivation. The art of sound has been a theme in my life since I was a small child. It really has for all of us. In fact, for the majority of my post-puberty years, I desired nothing more than to be a music producer and score movies. Music was definitely one of those first loves in the list of attempts of reimagining or reinventing myself through many artistic avenues. This love, however, has not died out. Although for a short period of time I thought it did, it actually found its way into my unfoldment in other ways. And once a week or so, when I need it, I sit at my piano bench and play with eternal bliss. It brings me back to that childhood splendor of enjoying three things: basketball, art class, and orchestra. I often dream about being in middle school again and playing my violin with my peers. I wasn't the most highly skilled by any means, but I definitely was incredibly passionate about it. So much so, I taught myself guitar, piano, and a little producing to the extent in which my resources would allow me. During my adolescence, I struggled with chronic depression. I wouldn't leave my room for days at a time, and often I allowed my thoughts to go into some pretty dark places. But music fucking saved me. My academic performance was shitty because my mental state was always filled with angst and worry, but music class was my sanctuary. And looking forward to our seasonal concerts was an escape from the fatigue of a very unpredictable home life. One day, I acquired an old CD binder that would introduce me to many musical masters. As I would self-isolate in my room for unhealthy amounts of time, I can tell you that those CDs were on a 6-disc rotation at all times. Pink Floyd, David Bowie, CCR, Nirvana, Led Zeppelin, Stevie Wonder, The Smiths, and many, many, many more kept me tethered to an outlet that, upon reflection now, was a sacred space. Without it, I can tell you I would not be talking into this microphone right now. Often I would sit in front of my CD player with my guitar and set a song to repeat, continuously pausing it so I can learn the song by ear. Unfortunately, my lack of confidence and growing internal self-hatred would, over the years, put me into prolonged periods of not playing or practicing. But little did I know, the seed that was planted would grow slowly within me and add to my multidimensional creativity. The therapy it provided me when I let it in was profound. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but unintentionally I was closing my eyes while listening to songs like Visions by Stevie Wonder and actually visualizing myself as a happier, sovereign individual. At 14, I went to a music festival with my sister, and we were so excited to see Paramore and Third Eye Blind. I vividly remember the guitarist in Third Eye Blind blowing my effing mind during an improvised guitar solo in the song Jumper. And for the first time, I felt this euphoria of being totally present. That moment will live in my soul forever. In other words, music has always found its way into healing many of my wounds. But enough about me. The mystery around music and its capacity for healing, promoting imagination, and making things just feel more alive is what I want to talk about. Plato couldn't be more accurate with his statement surrounding music's innate capability of entwining with fundamental emotion. This realization came from his mathematical understandings. Plato observed that both music and mathematics share a common foundation: harmony and proportion. In his view, music is not just an art form, but also a manifestation of the same mathematical principles that govern the cosmos. He believed that the harmony in music reflected the harmonic order of the universe, which he thought was based on mathematical relationships. This concept is closely related to the idea of music of the spheres, an ancient philosophical concept that suggests the movements of celestial bodies, the sun, moon, and planets, creating a form of music through their mathematical relationships, albeit inaudible to the human ear. It is as if music is a code to the universe. Someone I deeply admire and am fascinated by is Robert Edward Grant. In my biased opinion, he could very well be the Leonardo da Vinci of the 21st century. He is known for exploring intersections of mathematics, geometry, and various fields, including music. If you ever follow him on Instagram or check out his website, you will see that this man is the real deal. A mathematician regularly displaying that our reality is designed by a higher intelligence. One area of his interest is the study of harmonics and resonance frequencies. He investigates how mathematics of waveforms and frequencies can explain the harmony and resonance we perceive in music. This includes looking at how different notes interact with each other based on their vibrational frequencies, and represents this to us in mathematical models. I'll be honest, some of the intricacies he's displaying can go right over my head, being this is advanced mathematics and I failed algebra. Another avenue he explores is the phenomena of 432 Hz tuning. While not exclusive to Grant, there is a strong interest in tuning instruments to 432 Hz as opposed to the standard 440 Hz I remember seeing all over my sheet music growing up. Grant's work certainly encourages a deeper appreciation for the underlying patterns and structures that connect different aspects of our world. If you listened to my previous episode, The Masters, I think that Robert Edward Grant is fulfilling what Tesla hoped we would be continuing to understand with energy, frequency, and vibrations. Tapping into these frequencies through means of music and a deeper understanding of its interconnectedness to mathematics could mean healing on a global and cosmic scale. There are many proponents that 432 Hz music can more effectively reduce stress and anxiety compared to music tuned to standard 440 Hz and brings listeners into a deeper meditative state. This frequency is also indicated to improve quality of sleep and improve overall emotional well-being. Although there is much skepticism around this topic amongst the academics, I can tell you that I myself noticed significant emotional improvement when listening to this frequency, and many others can attest to it as well. I simply think that we are just now scratching the surface of understanding these frequencies, so who's to say that it's not possible? In the domain of heart health, music emerges as a cardiologist's ally. Enthralling research has depicted how certain rhythms and tempos can synchronize with the heart's own beats, inducing a state of cardiovascular coherence akin to a well-rehearsed orchestra. This harmony between music and heartbeat can lead to improved vascular health, painting a picture of arteries and veins dilating in response to the acoustic waves washing over them. Let's face it, we all have some internal wounds. Without holding comparison to others, we all have a deep need for healing. And dare I say, it is even spiritual. One example of music being utilized in a spiritual sense is when it is sung at church, in a cathedral, or in any place of worship for that matter. In these settings, music is used for exactly that, healing. Anytime I partook in singing at church, I truly felt like God was sewing up some wounds and filling me up with inspiration. The fact that music intuitively shifts our state of being proves its profound ability to open the floodgates of our deepest reservoirs of emotion, drawing tears from the wells of our soul. It can touch upon memory, a longing, or a love, resonating with the vibrations of our innermost feelings and offering solace in human emotions we all share. The sweetness of this invitation music gives us to sing along, to join in harmony or revel in the catharsis of a solo. We find an outlet, a way to connect with something greater than ourselves, a path to healing. This beautiful dichotomy, the symphony's ability to both mirror and mold our emotional states, is what makes it a timeless companion through the rich and sometimes painful path of life. The symphony is a whisper in the silence, a shout in the noise, a guide in the labyrinth of our complicated nature, leading us to discover, feel, and ultimately understand the depths of our own humanity. Just imagine our ancestors, thousands and thousands of years ago, dancing and singing around a fire, telling their stories through song and movement, for it was the only way for them to preserve their story, to sing to their children and grandchildren and hoping that they would do the same, to heighten the morale in their tribe after a long day of hunting and perhaps even losing a few people in a challenging terrain, to evoke prayers to a higher power, for rain, for peace, to heal the sick, and enlightenment. And because they did this for millennia after millennia, it was the art and the music that kept them hoping their existence wouldn't be in vain. In other words, it played a significant role in motivating them to keep moving forward. To put it in perspective, in 500 AD in ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome, early string instruments resembling harps and lyres were played, laying the foundational concepts of plucked string instruments. Also in the Middle Ages, the oud or oud, originating in the Arab world, was brought to the Iberian Peninsula by the Moors, later evolving into the European lute, a key ancestor to the guitar, becoming the most popular musical instrument of medieval Europe, and someday Jimi Hendrix. A guitar style of kaleidoscopic fusion of raw emotion, technical virtuosity, and experimental soundscapes of sonic exploration. Now, don't get me started on Jimi Hendrix. If you know, you know. If you don't know, go check him out. And if you're not impressed, there is something wrong with you. I could go on and on about the timeline surrounding these instruments and even music theory that we know today, but do we really think of it? how these musical instruments evolve over thousands of years, or even why that is, all to meet with the plenty of genres and subgenres of styles and cultural expressions, but also unique to the individual musician who is playing or composing it. I don't know about you, but when I acknowledge some of the history on this, I feel an immense gratitude and realize the gravity and importance of the role music played in our human story and continues to play. One of my favorite films is August Rush. It was one of the moments a film quite literally flipped my perspective upside down. If you haven't seen it yet, it is essentially about an 11-year-old boy who lives in a group home or orphanage of some kind. His peers find him extremely odd, and he was bullied because of his strong belief that he would one day find his biological parents. He managed to escape the group home and found himself in New York City. And shortly after that, he met another little boy around his age, singing and playing the guitar on the street for money. The boy introduced him to Robin Williams' character, a man who was looking after him and a group of other children who were presumably failed by the foster system, all singing and playing music for money to survive. A lot unfolded on his journey after Robin Williams' character quickly discovered that August was a prodigy after his first attempt at playing the guitar with the equivalent genius of Beethoven. August found himself wanting to use his musical abilities to find his parents, and let's just say, without me spoiling the ending for you, his connection to music was epic and inevitably guided him to his truest purpose. There's one line in the movie that stuck with me. In fact, I think it's the last thing he said. The music is all around us. All you have to do is listen. When I hear this as an adult, I believe this line to transcend just the topic of music itself in a literal sense. It is also referring to truth, love, intelligence. Whoever shall listen or seek or set sail to find something they're looking for shall hear the music. A real-life prodigy, Beethoven, also said, "Music is a higher revelation than all wisdom and philosophy," implying that logic and intellect is indeed a high domain of understanding. However, music lives in a domain even above what we typically hold in the highest cognition. In fact, when we write a song and play that song, it is as if we are at the same time discovering it for the first time. Always new, always changing, always moving and influencing the environment, and rings in our ears the next day, the next year, the next century. The symphony reminds us of our finite life in the physical form. It aids us during the journey and rings on to all who simply listen. I am grateful for you listening today, to my words and to my friend Ethan Bloomingdale's music that you hear. I'm grateful for the music and all those who appreciate it, or make their attempt at playing or singing it, or even for those who appreciate the magic of a live performance. It is because of all of you that the door remains open to the symphony. It is because of all of you that it gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Aldous Huxley said, "After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music." Thank you again for listening to today's episode. And if you haven't checked out my previous ones, I hope you do so. I also hope you can like, comment, share, interact. I am starting from scratch here with this new podcast, and I feel so passionate about it. Please let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear them. Also, check out the description. I have a link for you of some of my favorite songs. When I say some, I think it's about 200 on Spotify, but I hope you enjoy. They are kind of all over the place. I hope you find a couple tunes that you like. Stay tuned for episode 5 called The Circles. I love you all. God bless.